Everybody, welcome to the Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker podcast. Today, our client is going to be From Lynch to Eternity.
Trapped in a hellscape of their own invention, socially unaware old white men bound by the pretense of being fake lawyers yet knowing no law, no exquisite Latin terminology, they are inexplicably compelled to quibble over minutia, squabble over triflings, and bicker like those who value their backyards far too highly without even knowing the difference between an easement and an alleyway. At this very moment, you have entered the heart of the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. Let's get started.
Honoring the life and work of one of our greatest directors, David Lynch, who had recently passed away, 3 weeks ago? A month ago? Recently. And it was, I just know a lot of my friends were very bummed about this. You know, most celebrity deaths, it's like, who gives a shit? Like, oh, that person died. Wow. But David Lynch was special. David Lynch not only was one of the most iconoclastic directors in mainstream American cinema, but also just an amazingly cool, weird guy. Like, if you guys watched his weather forecasts during COVID, where during COVID he just would get on not TV, he'd get on YouTube and just do these little like philosophical, almost like Buddhist homilies about the world, kind of as a weather forecast. And he just did so many interesting things in his life. Such a cool guy and a brilliant filmmaker, obviously. So we're going to talk about David Lynch today.
So what makes him a brilliant filmmaker?
The fact that I think there's other brilliant filmmakers, obviously, but the fact that he could make these amazingly bizarre personal movies, like in Hollywood, with like from major studios, you know, like Universal. Dino De Laurentiis produced his movies. He produced Conan and he produced Blue Velvet. It's kind of crazy. I don't know if there's ever been a director who has such a bizarre personal vision that he puts on the screen. Like if you've ever seen Mulholland Drive, I mean, that's just a crazy movie. I can't imagine any studio executives being like, that's what we want. That'll be perfect.
You know, it's funny, when you were saying crazy, it sounded a lot like Christopher Walken.
Christopher Walken?
My question is this: Are those weather reports you mentioned? Are they still available on YouTube?
I bet they are. And they were like, I watched them a lot during COVID, and he was just like, he's like the Zen master, like personally, not talking about his movies. He really is this guy who's just, there's no one like David Lynch. I'm sorry, there wasn't anyone like David Lynch. But then on top of that, his movies were like, and getting back to Matt's question, just the fact that love him or hate him, the fact that he could still somehow get like major studios putting out his movies, and he was making basically sometimes bizarre art films that normally would just be like, you know, not even financed or barely financed. He has this unique position in film history that he could get away with this.
But did anyone really hate him? I mean, I don't know how you could. I don't think you can hate David Lynch.
That's what I'm saying. He was such a sweet guy, but you'd think he'd be disturbed and like a weird guy. You know what I mean? Like Werner Herzog by his movies. You'd see one of his movies, you'd be like, oh, this guy's twisted. This guy's a weirdo. He's like, but no, he was the sweetest. I actually saw him talk at the Cine Vegas Film Festival probably 25 years ago. And he just comes across as like Jimmy Stewart, like a scoutmaster, just a sweet guy. And he's just like, oh, humble and sweet. And yet,
did you hear how he died?
What?
Did you hear how he died?
I'm sorry, you're getting echoes. I can't hear.
Did you hear how he died?
It was he was masturbating with a rope around his neck, I believe.
Oh, it wasn't that
Just
guy.
Kidding. No,
he was a lifelong smoker.
I know, Matt.
Wait, I'm not done. Let me finish saying. What?
The fires in L.A.
No,
Apparently,
he
that
wasn't.
was
He didn't burn up, but he had
no, but
emphysema.
the smoke in the air.
All right. So, did you have the answer to it? You said you didn't have the answer to it. Like, are any watching the first
Brendan, are
place?
you hearing Matt's voice repeat and echo?
Mhm.
There's a person on the juggling.
It sounds kind of cool, actually. He sounds like some alien.
Batting tonight.
I
Jose
just echo crazy.
Canseco.
Next up, at
I,
back.
I was putting this particular new way of talking on the podcast work where it's not.
Matt, we got to figure this out. We can You're really like, I can't hear you. It's like Jar Jar Binks meets the little midget in Twin Peaks in the red room, talking backwards.
Oh man, has that got to be one of the weirdest? Like,
Oh, the
I don't know.
climax.
That's a pretty weird David Lynch moment. That whole moment with the little guy. If I'm thinking about the scene where he's like, "I'm at your house now. Call me." That you were talking about that guy?
Yeah, but I barely remember that part. I just remember him being like, "Jib shot for her hamburger, here bagel, door. That was insane. Oh, Matt, you're silent now.
Irmla Paro Kyo Ilti Kazga Tsomla. Call Easton Zed Tub.
I don't think Twin Peaks is available on any of the free streaming services,
Really?
but that's a great show.
Did you watch?
All right, did that work?
Yes, we can hear you now.
I can hear you.
But is it
Yes.
clear?
Yes.
So it's not robot
Yeah,
land
you were
now.
silent for a second, and then now it's perfect.
Okay, good. Well, what I did is I just kicked out of it and went back in again. Okay, well, like I was telling Greg during our break, which was that I never could get into Twin Peaks. So how many episodes does it take before it becomes interesting?
Well, the first season is a very short season. It's like 9 episodes. I think
Okay.
mid-season replacement. That's the gold. The second season,
Right, but I'm saying how many episodes into the first season before it becomes
if you're not,
interesting? Because I
if
watched
you're
a couple episodes and it just never really caught my
okay,
attention.
then
Well,
you're,
then
you're
then it ain't
insane.
your thing. It ain't your
Okay.
thing. I mean, honest to God, if the first episode or two you're not like, what the fuck? Then yeah, it probably
Yeah.
isn't for you.
The first 10 minutes grabbed me, and I was like, of course, at the time,
First 10
young-
minutes. What happens in the first 10 minutes?
we find this dead body wrapped in plastic of this young, popular girl in this town of Twin Peaks, and it's this amazing mystery. But then, of course, it gets way weirder and interesting. But it's like the reason why that show was such a phenomenon. People would have Twin Peaks parties. People would buy tons of donuts and have parties and invite everyone over to their house to watch Twin Peaks.
Wait. I want to back up a second there. Was buying tons of donuts part of the
Yes.
show?
If you watch the show, it's a thing
Yeah.
in the show. The sheriff has the receptionist or whatever you call it, the assistant. Every time the sheriff and his deputies come in, she's got like donuts stacked up, like six donuts stacked, like times 20. Like, hey guys, I got you coffee and donuts. And so that became a thing. And so
Okay.
I would dumpster dive. I didn't have money to buy donuts at the time, but I would dumpster dive Dunkin' Donuts. Dunkin' Donuts, if you don't know this as a dumpster diver, they were the best corporation. They had a policy where all their day-old donuts would be thrown in a bag with no garbage. There'd be a separate bag with all the garbage and napkins, but they just had a bag of donuts. Like, they basically knew people were going to be dumpster diving, and that probably saved their garbage bill. They had less, shit. And we would go like every other day or every third day and grab a giant bag of day-old donuts. And they would have these Twin Peaks parties. And everyone I knew was into it. I mean, I was like
They were everyone you knew was into dumpster diving for donuts?
no. A few of them were, but we were into Twin Peaks. That's what I'm saying. It was a phenomenon.
What was the other thing about Twin Peaks? The whole thing about like the apple pie, like when he went to the diner, wasn't that a thing too?
or whatever
He's
pie
like,
it
oh,
was.
this is a really good apple pie or whatever the hell it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I never got into it. I guess there just wasn't a hook for me that brought me in. I don't think the crime part of it in the beginning would have got me. I think maybe if the donut thing had been there in the beginning, it might have got me. But I don't know. I don't know what have made it of interest. Or maybe I just wasn't in the right mindset to watch it the couple of different times I tried because I gave it a couple of chances because I wanted to. I mean, I
Like
liked
when it
Blue
was
Velvet a
airing
lot.
on ABC, Matt, back in the
What?
day, when it was airing on ABC. Are you
Yeah,
talking
when
about?
did it come out?
80 something, 88, 89, sometime around there.
Yeah, I thought it was more 90, but yeah, 89,
Could be
90, somewhere
90,
in there.
yeah, somewhere around there.
When
The thing, I think the thing about David Lynch is, and we can talk about this too. He had a certain just vibe to his what he did, how he directed, that I think if you weren't into it, you weren't going to be into it. And if you were into it, you were super into it. It was like that culty kind of thing. Like we're like, love this. And everybody's like, well, I don't know. So if you're into it, you're into it. And I think that happened. I think you make that distinction pretty quickly with his work.
So I was gonna say that like the main thing about Twin Peaks, at least, is that like the youngins listening to this podcast, not that any do, they can't even understand how mind blowing that was. They're used to crazy cool shows on Netflix and Amazon, interesting shit. TV was a fucking wasteland in 1989 or whatever. It was like Urkel.
No.
It was just like stupid shit. Maybe the best thing you'd get is a like not NYPD Blue or LA Law or something. And Twin Peaks comes out on TV and on network TV, at least, maybe even streaming. Nothing that weird has ever been done before. But imagine if you youngins are listening, it's like TV is just pretty much shit. And Twin Peaks comes out and you're watching, and you're like, what the fuck? Not only is it brilliant, but it's fucking insane and weird and surreal. TV never did that before.
No, I mean
maybe
that was the thing about it is it was so unique. There wasn't anything that you could even compare it to.
But then it was
and
it was a number one show or like a top 10 show. That blows me away. That somehow this high surrealism on television, network television, was a phenomena. It was a huge rated show.
Yeah, no, I think it paved the way for a lot of the TV shows that people go, oh, that was cool. Like, I really think that even shows like the X-Files, I think, a lot of those shows really owe something to Twin Peaks. Now, having said that, I think Twin Peaks owes a lot to shit like The Outer Limits and the Twilight Zone.
I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I think it was way more surreal and bizarre than that shit.
Well, it was more bizarre.
I love the Twilight Zone. Believe me, I love the Twilight Zone. But
I'm just saying non-traditional television.
Yeah. Oh, I get it. Yeah, definitely. It's definitely not traditional.
No, I don't think anyone out-lynches Lynch in terms of the weird factor, which would bring up Eraserhead. You know what I mean? Obviously, his weirdest movie of all time. Maybe one of the weirdest movies ever made. Honest to God.
Are you looking for your next relaxing getaway? Then look no further. This gem is the talk of the world at the moment and should be your next travel destination. The Gaza Strip, also known simply as Gaza, is a small territory located on the eastern coast of the Mediterranean Sea. It is the smaller of the two Palestinian territories, the other being the West Bank, that make up the state of Palestine. Inhabited by mostly Palestinian refugees and their descendants, Gaza is one of the most densely populated territories in the world. Gaza is bordered by Egypt on the southwest and Israel on the east and north. Its capital is Gaza City, and its largest city is currently Rafah. Gaza offers a unique blend of natural beauty, cultural richness, and a high-quality lifestyle with benefits including a mild Mediterranean climate, stunning landscapes, shell-shock veterans, and a vibrant cosmopolitan atmosphere. The region is known for its delicious Mediterranean cuisine, featuring fresh seafood, regional specialties, and fine wines, all with a hint of the smokiness that comes from weapons recently fired. The area boasts a rich history and cultural heritage, including attempted genocide with numerous historical sites, museums, and art galleries. The region is synonymous with luxury and elegance, offering a wide range of high-end hotels, restaurants, and shopping experiences. Gaza offers a wide range of outdoor activities, including hiking, cycling, water sports, Israeli bombings, and exploring the natural beauty of the region. Gaza is relatively easy to navigate, with good transportation links connecting various towns and cities with minimal roadblocks. Occasionally, you'll be stopped to ensure you're not carrying any C4 explosives, but ignore that and continue marveling at the beauty of the drive between shelled-out neighborhoods. We know you'll be talking about this vacation for years to come. Book your next flight to the Gaza Strip.
Okay.
I want a ticket. When can I go? That sounds great.
I was really thinking about, like, in the fall, I need somewhere international to go.
Yeah.
Maybe Gaza's the place. I hadn't really thought about it.
I think so. I think a good location.
I bet the Baba Ganoush there is outstanding.
While doing this particular ad, it made me think that perhaps instead of Wasabi Soda Pop ever returning, perhaps we should do travel logs for ads there every once in a while to, premium destinations like
Greenland,
Peninsula,
Red, White, and Blue Land.
Yeah,
Greenland could be one for sure.
We could go to fictional landscapes as well, like wherever Sherlock Holmes died, and
it was England.
Or Moriarty fell off of the cliff or whatever.
It was England. It's not a fictional.
No, I'm saying, like the place, it was where fictional characters actually died, or Narnia.
Narnia,
which was also in England.
I volunteer to do the next travel vlog to North Korea.
Shouldn't you do Florida? Shouldn't you do Clearwater, Florida? The magical land where alligators are enough.
That's a good point. I just returned from Clearwater, Florida, so maybe I should do a.
Well, there's no gators in Clearwater, Greg. That's the Everglades, and surrounding.
No gators in Clearwater. I think
that's not true. We have gators in
There's gators in Clearwater.
They're everywhere in Florida.
Well, I don't know if they're everywhere.
Well, no, seriously, like literally down the street from my old place is a golf course, and they have a couple of water traps.
Well, yeah, I guess so, because my dad lives north of Tampa, and he was telling me about the gators that are hanging out around where he lives.
No,
too.
I mean,
you have to watch out for your pets there.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was another park that I used to take my kids to sometimes, and they would have these long ass piers that would go out over the swamp, and you kind of stand there going, God, I gotta go home because this sucks. And then all of a sudden a gator would just start floating up to you, and you'd be like, is that a log? And then your kids start screaming, Dad, can we leave now? And then you knew how to go, and it was a gator.
Oh, if you're golfing and you hit the ball into the water and a gator eats it, do you get a do-over? So
no, you have to play where it lands.
That's called
you have to follow the gator until it poops out the golf ball eventually, and then hit it from there.
You gotta wait 14 hours or whatever, 24 hours.
Right. There's two parts to that. Now, if you're in South Florida, like Palm Beach, Miami, down Broward County, you're down there, then yes, that's right. You wait till the gator poops it out and you play through. If you're in, say Tampa, North Florida, you have to beat the gator to death with your golf club and then extract the golf ball from his gillet or his gut with a knife. So it depends on what part of the state you're in.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That'd be a little more hardcore. I think Tallahassee, you got to hack the gator open.
Yeah, in Tallahassee, you have to eat the gator as a part of the process. It's really rough.
Pensacola, you have to strap the gator to a jet.
In Jacksonville, you have to actually fuck the gator. I'm just saying.
And then he elected it as mayor.
Yeah, otherwise you're the congressman or the secretary or the new district attorney or
And
whatever.
then you get pardoned for doing
Wait,
it
doesn't Ron
for
DeSantis call his
bestiality.
oldest child Gator?
I
Ooh.
wouldn't doubt it. I don't know. I don't
Just
know what
making
that.
shit up.
I don't. I don't know what that high heel wearing cowboy. I don't know what he's up to these days.
I'm like, he's still governor, isn't he? I think he's still governor.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's still governor. He's not king yet. They're working on it, but it's not happened yet.
So Matt, you said you're not
Yes,
a David Lynch,
I'm
whatever.
not David Lynch. That is true.
You're not a David Lynch expert like I am.
Yeah, I'm definitely not. I mean,
But you saw
I
Blue
enjoyed Blue
Velvet.
Velvet when it came out because
Yeah,
it was like
exactly.
I
So did
really
that?
enjoyed that.
Yeah,
And
impressed you.
I actually liked the first Dune movie. I mean, I don't think it was fantastic, but I enjoyed it. It was entertaining, you know.
Do you think it
And
was
that's
more
kind of the
entertaining?
extent of my what?
Do you think it was more entertaining than the other Dune, the later Dune?
No, I like the new Dune better, much
Really?
better.
Because that
Yeah.
seems more dull to me. Like even though,
Yeah, I know, but the books are kind of dull, so it makes sense that it fits
but there's so
the
many
books
problems with
themselves.
David Lynch's Dune. It's kind of silly, but it's way
Right.
more fun
It's
to watch. I think.
if you're into like B movies, it would be a lot more fun to watch. Yes.
Well, okay. So first of all, we can't really compare David Lynch's Dune to the new Dune relative to director and cinematography and art.
Right. Yeah.
The new Dune
Yeah,
is a piece of art. There's no doubt about it. But
it's boring.
but it's not as interesting as the old Dune with David Lynch. And in previous conversations that I had with Greg, no one does the Space Navigators better than David Lynch. When they
I'll
wheel
agree
in
with you
that,
on that. Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah, when they wheel in that big fish tank, and then there's like those like members of Nine Inch Nails that come out with it, and then it reveals this giant weird anus face, and it's like,
yeah.
oh my God, that is amazing. The
And I gotta
new Dune.
say, I finally watched the new Dune like maybe 6 months ago. I don't think I finished it. I was so bored. But the Baron Harkonnen wasn't nearly as entertaining as Kevin McCarthy. That postulant, obese, disgusting creature. I mean, it's kind of
Well,
over the top.
again, Lynch made it a little more cartoonish, and that was the
Yeah,
idea there,
maybe
you
that's why I
know.
like it more.
Whereas Villeneuve was, going more for something more accurate from the book.
Yeah, i.e., boring. That's what you're saying.
Well,
No, no,
it is a series of stories about sand. So,
No, but
well,
I
I
read
think
Dune, the first one. That's all I can make it through. In fact, I don't think I finished it to be honest, but I did find
I,
it
I don't
fascinating. Frank
I don't think
Herbert.
Greg finished either one of the movies, but your point is well taken, Matt, in that the thing about the Lynch version, it was very Lynchy. And I loved it because I love Lynch, but I also love the new Dune, but it is slower. It's just a
yeah.
slower pace because it's more of an art film because that's Deneuve
I saw it
is
Yeah,
fun.
and they're trying to make it more accurate to the book, so understandable. And they knew that they were doing two movies when they started the first one as well. So,
Yeah,
they're
this
yeah,
build
and
up.
I mean, it doesn't really the Dune books get really interesting by like the fourth book, really, which is the
is
last
that
book
where
that
he
I
turns it?
read
Is
was the
that the
fourth
one where he
one.
turns into a worm and becomes immortal, or is that the later book?
Yeah, that's the one where he basically runs the universe as a sandworm.
Paul Muad'Dib turns into a sandworm.
No, his son does.
Oh, okay. I didn't
Yeah.
read that far.
Yeah, no, the third book is Children of Dune, where you learn about Muad'Dib's children and what they grew up to. Is basically his son is the one who becomes the fourth book is called God Emperor of Dune.
Now, was that
And
Frank
that's
Herbert
basically
or is that Brian Herbert?
no, it's Frank.
Okay,
Frank wrote that one before he died. I think Brian came along around the fifth or sixth book.
yeah.
So
I remember loving the fact that, like, I don't think I ever finished Dune. I tried to read it like twice as a teenager.
I tell you what, though, I really did enjoy the recent Dune show on HBO Max, though. which is called Dune Prophecy, which takes place like 30,000 years in the past. And
What?
that's a fun one. Yeah.
Does it take place on Iraq?
So
No,
prior to like,
it takes place a long time in the past. Yeah.
well,
Arrakis was there.
does it take? Greg, hold on. Does it take place where technology was still a thing before it became outlawed, and then the mentats and
It
all
takes
that?
place right after the technology wars against the machines. So it takes
Okay,
place right after they beat the Terminators.
right.
So
Oh wow, I hadn't heard about that.
yeah.
That's
Was
And
that
that's
then
that's cool.
Dune?
then intelligent machines are outlawed, and yeah, it's actually a good prequel to the story of Dune because
Huh.
it shows the beginning of the Harkonnens being assholes, and it shows the beginning of kind of the Atreides being assholes as well too, and then what Dune's role was at that time in controlling the Empire, or at
Whose role?
least what's that?
Whose role?
Dune, Arrakis, the
Oh,
planet Arrakis. It makes it more interesting. So there's like one season available of that. It's worth watching, in my opinion, anyway. So watch the two new ones, Greg, so you can get caught up, and then you can watch the TV show.
yeah.
And
what platform
it's
is
also
that
the
on that
beginning
you
of the
just,
Bene Gesserits too.
right? So what platform is that on that you just mentioned?
It's on Max.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did you guys watch Dune when it first came out?
Oh
As
yeah.
teenagers? Yeah.
I totally because I
then?
love the books. I love the books, so I was very happy when
So
the
what did you think?
movie came out. I was sad.
Yeah, I can get it.
I mean, I enjoy it. I mean, I'm always happy when they make TV or movies about books that I've loved.
Yeah.
And I'm usually sad because it doesn't do everything that I want. Like there's a number of different films and TV shows of books that I love that they totally screwed the pooch on. Like, the Earthsea books from Ursula K. Le Guin and the Riverworld books from what's his name, Philip Jose Farmer. They were not done in a way that I was happy with. So, and like the first Lord of the Rings movie, the animated one, which just ended in the middle of the second book. And you're like, what the hell what's going on here? So, but I was still happy it got made. I'm still happy to see it visually as opposed to what was in my own head. Like there's a new show on Amazon based upon a series of books I read called The Wheel of Time. And these are books that I read over the course of like 20 years. And they finally are getting like a visual retelling.
Who's the author?
Robert K. Jordan.
Oh,
it was one of the largest fantasy, probably the largest fantasy series of all time. It's 15 volumes, and every volume is like 2 or 3 inches thick.
I thought they sucked, though. Sorry.
What's that?
I thought they sucked, those Jordan books. I've heard of this Jordan guy.
You couldn't make it through the first book of Dune, so your opinion doesn't count.
No, but I was 13. I was dumb. But Jordan is like, isn't it just kind of like fantasy, like?
Well, yeah, they're fantasy stories.
Lame fantasy, though. Yeah. But apparently it's not.
Incredibly world building.
Before we get down this nerdy rabbit hole with
what he heard.
Greg.
I know.
Let me just say,
Greg is the man who lives off of hearsay.
But what I'm saying is, I'm kind of the opposite to you, Matt. Like I came to the Dune books via Lynch's movie. So I hadn't read the books, but I saw the movie and I'm like, oh, I gotta read these fucking books. So there's there's that angle too, where you see the movie and then I read the books, and of course the books are way more detailed and intricate and whatever. But I was cool. I wanted to read the books because of the movie. And I think that's sometimes the paradox there is that if you read the book, the movie is almost going to always be a disappointment unless they just make it stupid, and then it's a disappointment to everybody else.
No, I totally agree with you. And I've learned to really compartmentalize. So for me, I will just put aside what I know of the books and go, okay, that's how those are. And this is a different medium, and this is how I'll just enjoy them like this, and I'll just but I'm pretty easy. I don't nitpick things that I watch a lot, and I don't really care that much about canon or whatever nerd thing people throw out there, So I'll just go, hey, I'm having a good time. So with Wheel of Time, which is on Amazon Prime, if you guys have any interest in it, it's a new fantasy series. There's 2 seasons out now. The third season starts next month, and I've been champing at the bit. And I've also been forcing people to watch it at home. So, but every one of the adult boys you've watched, they've been totally into it, and like one of them's like, can't wait for the third season to come out. So if you guys haven't read the books, they're worth watching in and of themselves. They're a different style of fantasy.
So when you say fantasy, do you mean like dragons and knights and wizards, like that kind of like Lord of the Rings fantasy?
It's kind of a post-apocalyptic in the sense of things take place 3,000 years after a guy with a certain amount of powers broke the world, and it's essentially the returning of that person, the reincarnation of that individual is the one who's now going to either save the world or break it again. And that's the real basic concept behind this particular show.
Like
now, there aren't wizards, but there are people who have powers, and one is a group of women that many people refer to as witches, but they're not actually witches. And if men try to get that power, they tend to go insane and kill everybody around them. So that's
those women.
Not really. Okay. Yeah, they're not doing Bene Gesserit things, but there's a lot of other fantasy stories that you could see in these, but it still has a lot of nuance that's different from other fantasy stories. And especially on television, there's nothing that's been like this before. So
I never finished Dune.
Yeah, watch a couple of episodes. If you don't like it, you don't like it, but it's definitely worth, in my opinion, watching.
I never finished Dune, but there's one thing I remember from reading. I think I read the first 200 pages, and then maybe 6 months later, I tried to read it again. I still got stalled.
Yeah.
But I know this sounds crazy, but the reason why I think Frank Herbert's pretty genius is that little scene where the diplomats and the power, I don't know if it's the Harkonnens, they come to Arrakis, and the Iraqis, they spit on them. They spit on the floor in front of them. And of course, they like start reaching for their swords. It's like, whoa, what kind of affront is this? And luckily, they have a diplomat there. It's like, no, that's the greatest honor you can give in Arrakis. There's no water. Someone spitting, giving up their life fluids in this world where liquid is so precious, that is the greatest honor you could give them. Little things like that Frank Herbert puts in Dune, like the sociological, the political. He creates a whole fucking world, like world.
Well, he goes further than that. He creates an entire universe.
Right? No, I know, but I'm saying like little things like that. Spitting has a sense of honor.
I just like the idea that there's this entire thing, and the thing you focus on is the spitting.
Yes, I know, it's so weird because I never.
It's an interesting point.
I thought that was brilliant. I thought that was like, wow, you're really thinking this through. You're thinking this whole.
But David Lynch probably lost all water in his salivary glands during the wildfires.
I was
he lost his breath.
That too.
I was going to say, remember, Greg, when we were talking earlier about like this topic, and I was like, when people say David Lynch, they think of like, Twin Peaks or Blue Velvet or Dune. But what was David Lynch's probably biggest movie?
Well, financially and Academy Award.
Was it Elephant Man?
Yes, the Elephant Man. Which, do you know anyone, Matt, who's been like, I saw Elephant Man last week? Do you know what I mean? It's like kind of forgotten.
Like where they rewatched it? Yeah. No, I mean,
I haven't watched it since
I think
saw it
I didn't even at the time. I didn't know he had directed it, so I didn't tie the two together. But I think I was a kid when it came out, and it got me interested in neurofibromatosis for whatever reason. So the fact that I remember that disease is a testament to David Lynch.
that's my point. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, we all sort of, whatever, you might know about the Elephant Man or not, but his depiction, and obviously the actors in that movie, was John Hurt was the Elephant
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, John Hurt and Anthony Hopkins was in it too as the doctor.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. I mean, that movie is such a classic, and that is so David Lynch. And he did that, what, like few years? Like that was his next movie after Eraserhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it
also
was not done
White.
in a surreal way either. It was done straight, you know.
Yeah, it's pretty straight.
Yeah.
Greg, why have you turned red?
I don't know. I gotta.
Oh, it's your thumb.
Oh,
His thumb is over the
there we go.
camera.
I gotta go
The
on
thing about it
walkabout
was,
again.
it
know
wasn't
what had
surreal. You're right, because it didn't need to be. It was
Right.
like David Lynch could just tell a legit, like, this is what happened story, and it was so fucking weird that it was still David Lynch.
But I don't think any director could have done it as well. You know what I mean?
I don't think so either.
Hollywood story, but he had to be the guy to do that movie. It was perfect. I gotta mute myself for a second, guys.
You have
Okay.
to mute. Oh, is he taking a leak? So, all right. Well, let's take a look at Lynch's filmography. I'm just going to read them off, and then we can go back to them. So it was Eraserhead, Elephant Man, Dune, Blue Velvet. Then he did Twin Peaks: Firewalk with Me, and then Wild at Heart, Lost Highway, The Straight Story, Mulholland Drive, and Inland Empire. So I haven't seen a number of those. I've seen
Mulholland.
Dune, Elephant
I think
Man.
you would like Mulholland Drive.
I've
I think
seen
you
the
would really
Mulholland
like
Drive.
that.
I have not seen Inland Empire. And Mulholland Drive was all right. I didn't mind it.
I didn't see
I have
Inland
not seen
Empire.
Inland Empire. I've not seen The Straight Story.
No, I
I've
haven't
not
seen that
seen
one.
Lost Highway.
I've seen that
I've
one.
not
That
seen
one's pretty
Wild.
good, but you're not
I
gonna
might
like
have
that.
seen Wild at Heart because that's one with Laura Dern and Nicolas Cage. That might have come across my viewing at the time.
I've seen almost every Nicolas Cage movie I can, which is a hard thing to do. I'm not sure if I saw that one.
Did you see that most recent one, the like the unbearable truth of Nicolas Cage or whatever it's called? The one that was basically him playing himself.
The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah, that's the one. I think is what it's called, right?
Yes, I have seen it.
That actually is probably the most recent Nicolas Cage movie I thoroughly enjoyed.
I think it's amazing that
nuts.
Nicolas Cage, after being out in the wastelands for 20 years, paying off his IRS bill, he's a great actor again. The past
Well, okay,
5
okay.
years, he's been
Hold on,
kicking ass.
hold on. Now, time out, bathroom guy.
Yes.
Let me just talk about Nicolas Cage for a second. First of all, his last movie, which we just mentioned, is a good movie. However, Mandy, if you haven't seen Mandy, that's a fantastic movie.
I know, I can't find it on streaming anywhere.
Didn't Barry Manilow do the theme to that song, that movie?
Yes. It's based on that song, the whole movie.
Okay.
It's the lyrics.
I've never heard of the movie before, honestly.
But that movie that's filmed in Portland, what, Pig, I think it was called, or
yeah, I think it was called.
That movie's amazing.
I'm trying to take my hand down. Oh, there we go.
He's so good in that.
Pig was a fantastic movie. The whole thing where he comes into Portland and he's just gonna like murder people to find his pig. Oh, that's a great movie. So,
but for 20 years, he was just like taking any shit role, and he became a laughing stock. And then all of a sudden, maybe he paid off his bill, and he's like, I can pick movies now that I want to do, and he's doing great.
Or he's just a fan of the art form, and he just loves movies.
Or he's a working actor and likes to, just.
But for
do his
so
job.
long, though, he was terrible. He was like
he wasn't terrible. He was just doing a lot
terrible.
of crappy movies.
Well, okay.
No,
he was being Nicolas Cage.
Movies.
Nicolas Cage is Nicolas Cage, and it's like in every movie.
Yeah, what movie did he do that was terrible? What movie did he do that was terrible?
Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider was pretty damn good.
National Treasure. No, Ghost Rider was actually okay. I'm sorry.
National Treasure was a decent movie.
I know. I'm saying he's not doing great acting in those movies. He's just doing like showing up, getting his paycheck. He's like, okay, I'm the lead. Face Off. Face Off is ludicrous. He's like
No.
comical in that. It's almost like
No.
comedy. It's not meant to be
Face
a
Off
comedy.
is a fantastic
Yeah,
movie.
it is.
I will die on that
It's
hill.
fun as hell. But he is not. You would not give him the Academy Award for Face Off, would you?
Oh,
Would you say
not.
best actor of the year? No, he's.
I would
ludicrous.
say he and Travolta did a great job in that movie of imitating each other.
Okay, I think that was a great act. Are we? But here's the thing: are we talking about? Well, Nicolas Cage didn't play the appropriate retard, so he doesn't get an Academy Award. No, he was just doing. How many?
But that's
how many,
is that a Tropic Thunder reference?
It was a Tropic Thunder reference.
You got to go full retard sometimes if you want to win the Academy Award.
He just never did that. He was just making movies. Now, he made some dumb ones. I'm not a huge fan of Con Air.
He made a lot of dumb ones. Let's just say.
Yeah, Con Air, his drawback in Con Air was his hair.
No, that was his saving grace. His hair was fucking perfect. Oh, my God. It was glorious. That scene was like, oh, no. But, yeah, he did some dumb movies. But have you seen The Color Beyond Space?
I never even heard of it.
That sounds interesting.
Color Beyond
actually,
Space.
my favorite role for Cage is in Matchstick Men.
Oh, yes.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Probably
you never saw that one?
As well.
No. But
yeah, that's
can we
like
get back to
phenomenal movie. That's him and Sam Rockwell basically
like he's great.
Working together as scam artists, as their con artists together. But Cage has OCD like really, really bad. And so that's what makes this movie is him portraying Nicolas Cage with OCD.
And
it's got to get a really good script too.
I want to bring it back to David Lynch in a way, because even in his prime, supposed prime, Nicolas Cage is kind of not that great in Wild at Heart. It's a fun movie, but David Lynch has that ability where he makes his movies where like Tom McLaughlin is in like how many of his movies? So 4 or 5?
All of them?
And Twin Peaks. And
was he the eraser and Eraserhead?
Tom McLaughlin is terrible. Tom McLaughlin's not a good actor, and yet it works in David Lynch's milieu. He can take any actor, even if they're...
Kyle MacLachlan was good in Portlandia.
Yes, he was. That was funny, yeah. And he's always good in David Lynch movies, but he's not a good actor. It's just David Lynch knows how to use his kind of wooden whatever it is. Whatever he has, he knows how to utilize that and make it great. Like, I mean, Twin Peaks is amazing as Agent Cooper, but that's a whole different thing. But Blue Velvet.
Well, he was perfect for that role.
Yes, exactly.
He was made for that role.
Blue Velvet is like, I think not just me, like the majority of people are like, yeah, that's a great movie. But Kyle MacLachlan's role is just like, I'm this boring little teenage guy, and like, it's not great acting. You're not like, wow, Kyle MacLachlan. But like somehow David Lynch.
He's now Kyle MacLachlan?
Isn't that how you say it? Kyle MacLachlan?
He's married to Sarah.
McLaughlin.
Sarah McLaughlin.
So how do you say Kyle MacLachlan?
It's spelled differently. It's McLaughlin.
Oh, it's McLachlan. Okay.
Yeah, it's not McLaughlin.
I never
There's
knew
no
that. I've been
GH
saying
in
that
there.
my whole life. I've been saying Kyle MacLachlan.
I will forgive your, Italian Hispanic ass for chewing up that name. But it's
not
okay.
Hispanic or Italian, but it's just dumb. But like, yes, David Lynch is so good at that, and like even Laura Dern in that, she's a little over the top. It's not like, wow, she's the best actress of the year, but it works. Wild at Heart is like a crazy, nutty movie that I love, but I wouldn't say they're acting well. I'm sorry, Nicolas Cage in this point, not Kyle MacLachlan. Nicolas Cage is kind of cheesy in that movie. His whole Elvis shit. It's like, oh, trying to be like Elvis and stuff. It's like kind of cheesy, but it works in a movie.
Right. But can we talk about Leaving Las Vegas for a second? I mean, if we're just going to shit on...
That was his high point, yeah. Believe me, I love Nicolas Cage. I like a lot of it. I even like Face Off. I love how cheesy he is in that and crazy, but I would not give him the Academy Award for that. I'd be like...
If we want to talk about bad Nicolas Cage movies, there's Snake Eyes.
Oh,
I knew
yeah.
this.
No, that is a dark. That
He
is
did
like a
so
dark.
many fucking movies because of his IRS.
But Snake Eyes was kind of like the beginning of his decline of concepts. It's like where you went, oh, this isn't good. This was a bad choice, Nicolas
Yeah.
Cage.
He seemed like he
But
didn't care at some point. He just had to pay off this IRS bill, and he was taking any movie and just doing
Well,
whatever.
he was. I mean, he was trying to make a living. I mean, can you blame the guy? Whether it was
yeah,
IRS or
exactly.
I
somebody
can
else. I
blame
mean,
him.
And
for
like I
not paying
said,
his
his
taxes for
saving
20
grace to
years.
me will always be the fact that he did Matchstick Men, and so that like anything he does after that, I'm okay with. I'm like going, if he could pull
so
that off, yeah.
Matchstick Men, probably you're right. My favorite Nick Cage movie.
More
Can
than
we
leaving
talk
Las
about
Vegas?
Raising Arizona for a second?
Oh God.
Oh yeah, Racing Arizona. Well, that's Coen Brothers. That's kind of like our introduction to Nicolas Cage, wasn't it? No, I guess
No,
our
Well, no,
introduction to him wasn't it in like the Valley Girl movie, wasn't it? Isn't that
I
what
think
his
that was
first
his
movie
first
was?
movie. The one that got me onto the Nick Cage thing was Vampire's Kiss.
wasn't that
I
after
think I
Raising
vaguely
Arizona?
remember
Or no,
that.
After what?
Raising Arizona.
I think
No,
so.
I think
I
that
think
was
it's
before.
it was before
okay.
it, really?
I think so.
Huh. Well, now I have to like look
You
it up.
guys know his very first appearance in a movie? He was still Nick Coppola, because
But wasn't that in Valley Girl?
no, yeah, he was Nicolas Cage then. His very first appearance, he's like 3 minutes. He's in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and his credit
Oh,
is
okay.
Nick Coppola.
Oh,
He's not even Nicolas Cage yet. And there's a TV show he did. It's horrible. It's on YouTube. You can find it. I wish I remembered the name. It was this wretched TV show he did when he was still, like, even before that, even before Fast Times. And I think there's like 2 episodes on YouTube. And maybe it didn't even air. It was like a pilot, maybe. It's bad.
I saw a commercial that he did. I don't even remember what the hell it was for, but it was one of his Nick Cage's early appearances, maybe Nick Coppola at the time. And he's running up and down the aisles of looks like a convenience store with Bobby Benson.
Robbie
and then they
Benson?
get out the end and they're all like,
I never saw that.
I don't remember what the hell it was. I just saw it
It's a
recently. And I
credit
was
to
like,
Nicolas Cage for doing that. Like,
I mean,
Hollywood is all about nepotism. It's all about, oh, my mother is a famous actress, and now I get to be it. And he changed his name on purpose.
He's been married 5 times. You would think that
he
like
is.
just being divorced once would be enough to keep him from getting married again, but 5 times. It's crazy.
That's Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's what you do in Hollywood.
No,
at
that's
Elizabeth
what Nick
Taylor.
Cage does.
I got to say one thing about Nicolas Cage. He, almost always plastic surgery is a disaster, to quote Jello Biafra. But he got really good plastic surgery. I saw him on some show. It was on like Netflix or something, some stupid show. And he looked fucking great. I couldn't believe it. I was like, you look like how most plastic surgery, you look weird and you got like, I don't know, something's weird about the face.
Yeah. It does not look natural.
He just looked like he was 25. He just looked great. And I've never seen plastic surgery work out that well.
That's because he's a vampire.
Yeah. And his face off. He's used to having his face ripped off and changed.
There you go. It all makes sense now.
All right, so his first starring role was in Valley Girl.
Yeah.
His first role was in Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
I bet this TV show was before that, though.
He was originally, the TV show was called Best of Times. It was a pilot, but it never got picked up by ABC.
I watched it.
So that was
really
like
bad.
1981.
Wow.
But where the hell's the vampire one? I can't seem to find it.
Vampire's Kiss? I think that's what it's called.
Is that John Landis?
I think so.
No. All right, Vampire's Kiss was 1988.
So is that before?
I think that was later.
Okay.
Later than what?
I think that was later than Valley Girl, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Valley Girl was his first movie.
Yeah. What about What does Raising Arizona come
What
in?
were we compares? Oh, Raising Arizona. That's what
Was it before
Yeah.
Raising Arizona or after Raising Arizona? That was the con.
Right.
I think
I think
it's
you're right
after.
there. And Raising Arizona came out in
Like
Oh
92.
no, that
Yeah.
was 87.
Ooh,
Really?
Yeah.
yeah, because I think
87.
Vampire's Kiss
We're
was a
old.
major
We're
motion
old,
picture.
boys. We are old.
Vampire's
So-
Kiss was a major motion picture, so I imagine he was in. That's why I thought he was in Raising Arizona first. That's what.
Well,
got
just the year
me.
before.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I
Raising
mean.
Arizona
But
was a
then people
major
saw
motion
him.
picture.
No,
Wasn't
it
like-
wasn't. The Coen Brothers. That was their second movie, and their first was a total minor indie. And so,
Well, I mean, okay, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, their first was Blood Simple, wasn't it?
yeah, and that was a
Yeah.
total like just played in art houses basically.
Yeah.
Raising
okay, so
Arizona-
what makes Vampires Kiss?
That was
A
like
major motion
I think that
picture.
had a big push. Like that was like TV ads and stuff. That was a movie. Like John Landis.
it was-
You know, it
Was
didn't
it John
do well.
Landis?
It didn't do well. It was.
Oh, it was a
nobody liked
really
it.
weird movie.
No, Vampire's Kiss was Robert Bierman.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yes.
but I think it was
That's
a
who
major
directed it,
Hollywood
yeah.
movie. Like
Okay.
hey,
I
come
don't know.
on.
It had a budget of $2 million and it made 725,000.
So it didn't do well.
Vampire's Kiss. No,
It was a disaster, but it
it
wasn't
was a
I
low
wouldn't
budget
call-
too.
But $2
I was gonna say
billion
2 billion
was pretty
isn't a
big back
big
then.
budget movie.
That was okay back then.
Was it?
Oh, okay, we'll just keep working this to fit the narrative. That
Yeah,
The
Greg is-
budget for
I'll keep
Raising
interesting
Arizona
it
was
up.
$5.5 million, Greg, and it made
What?
$29.2 million.
That cost more than Vampire's Kiss.
Yeah, by like
Have you
$3.5
seen?
million.
Have you seen? Greg has obviously not seen Vampire's Kiss. This is a
I have not.
really low budget, stupid
I'm
looking
thinking
movie.
of the John
If you've
Landis
seen-
movie. That's why.
if
I'm
you've
thinking of that John
hold
Landis vampire movie.
Hold on. If you've seen the meme where Nicolas Cage has got his eyes all like, and he's doing the thing where he's like, A B C D, that whole thing, that's from
Yeah.
Vampire's Kiss, and that's because he's losing his mind because he thinks that he is turning into a vampire when he's really just fucking stupid.
I like the quote here in the Wikipedia. It says the film later developed a cult following largely due to Cage's scorched earth acting, which has become a source of many internet memes.
Face Off is probably the success of Face Off is due to that. People love
Scorched earth
that
acting
movie.
is an awesome phrase, is all I
yeah,
gotta say.
I
because
love it. And no one does scorched earth acting even close to Nicolas Cage. It's
Pretty true,
evidenced by
actually.
his recent movie with the biggest star in Hollywood now these days. He's playing himself as an absolute fucking lunatic.
He's doing a
Which
movie with
one?
Timothy Chalamet.
No, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about Pedro Pascal, who's in every.
oh, he's in that.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in that.
Yeah, he's the opposite. It's the two of them.
I gotta watch that.
Oh yeah, and the unbearable,
Right.
thing,
The unbearable.
which is on. I think
greatness
it's on
of-
Amazon. If you want to watch it, Greg, where
I do
Nicholas
want
Cage is playing himself. So
And if you guys ever see Mandy pop up on the streamings, please text me because I've been looking for that for 5 years now. It never
Mandy.
comes
No,
up.
it's on Tubi right now. I'm almost
What?
willing to bet.
Oh my god, I'm still there.
when
I
he
saw
said
that-
he's willing to bet, he can't confirm it.
I'm
I hope it
confirming
is, though.
now.
Oh, okay.
Because I saw the first 20 minutes of that movie at a friend's house. I was exhausted. I had hadn't slept more than 4 hours in 24 hours. And I loved it. The first 20 minutes, I was like, this is one of the best movies I've seen in years. And I fell asleep. And my friend just said,
Oh no.
do you want to go home? And I was like, yeah, I should just go home. And I've never seen the rest since. And I've wanted to, but it's never on streaming. I mean, I could pay, but I have a thing about it. I do not pay to see movies. So I will not pay.
It is supposedly on the Roku channel, on Pluto TV, and Plex.
I could maybe download Pluto. Pluto's a free one, right? Like Tubi.
Yeah.
Well,
Plex,
Pluto-
I think, is
Pluto
free
is a
too.
free
Roku
one?
channel is free.
I don't have Roku.
Pluto is a free one. I just went there and it's right there. I might watch it
Yeah, I will download
after
Pluto
this
just for that.
podcast.
Oh, so it's a horror movie. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's a
don't know
horror
anything
movie.
about it.
it's amazing.
It's a horror movie, but absolutely. There's another movie. I think it was the movie he did before this, which is kind of a play off that video game where you're like locked in this Chuck E. Cheese and all the animatronics are possessed by demons
I
or
heard of
something.
that one. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yeah, that's
Oh,
like
it's a-
the night or something. What the hell's it called? I
the
can't
night
remember.
of whatever. So he did a movie like that. I swear he said 4 words the entire movie. The rest of the movie, he plays pinball, drinks energy drinks, and then murders monsters. It's fantastic.
Mandy had a budget of $6 million and made 1.4 million at the box office.
Man, it's underrated. I'm telling you, watch it. It's good. Mandy is a fantastic movie.
I wanted to mention.
Well, the thing is that you two both have much different stylistic preferences than I do. So I'm going to trust you that that's how you feel about it, but I probably would feel differently.
Well, just
Yeah,
because
no,
they
it's
make a lot of
true. I
money
mean,
doesn't mean it's not
well,
good. A lot of great,
well, no,
a lot of money.
it goes back to the earlier point, which is, it's definitely if you're into David Lynch kind of shit, then Mandy would be your thing. You'd be like, oh yeah, this is some cosmic horror, weird ass shit that doesn't make any sense. If that's not your thing, then it's probably not a movie for you.
I think for me, it always comes down to my particular mood at that particular time. Like some of that stuff I can watch all the time, and some of it I go, not really into it right now.
Let's do Ask Greg. I wanted to say something to the viewers.
Well, we don't have to do that. Brendan said he's got some time,
Greg,
so go ahead and say what you want to say,
I
Greg.
forgot to say this, not about Mulholland Drive, but I just wanted to talk to our viewers and say, you're probably looking at me right now after 2 years, maybe 3 years, and saying, what the fuck happened to you? Like, the difference in my physical appearance is kind of distinct.
I don't think you look that much different, Greg, other than you're wearing your beanie hat thing.
I do.
What the hell what? I'm sorry. I was checking
Greg wants to talk to the
letter.
one person on YouTube who's watching this right now to explain something about
I was just
his
checking
appearance.
the letterbox to see what the Ask Greg question was. So I'm sorry, I wasn't paying.
I
wasn't paying attention to his screed. Go ahead.
I just wanted to
Greg.
say it's not a screed, but I just wanted to tell our viewers that I have a very valid reason for looking this different than I did. This
what is the difference that you're thinking people see in your face, Greg?
Dilapidation and obesity.
You looked like that 3 years ago.
I didn't have the morbid obesity. I was just fat. And now I'm like, I'm a different man than I was. But I want to say that I have a very valid reason. I fell in love with a succubus. And so if that does that to a person.
When did you fall in love with the succubus? Was this recent?
Like 2 or 3 years ago, I fell in love with a succubus.
Yeah.
And it changed me, and I'm broken.
It
broke me.
Hold on. Was this the same succubus that kicked your ass?
Yeah.
And you didn't report it to the cops?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
She was going to suck my soul, but I cut it off before then. I knew that was coming. The soul sucking was.
So a mutual friend of ours came across her like a week or two ago, and he said, yeah, and she just started talking about how wrong I am for existing. And I'm like, okay, good for you. Lucky you get to talk to her.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah. So anyway, Greg, you've finally gotten over her, is what you're saying?
I don't know about that. That's why it looked like this. It fucked me up. It
you
broke
don't
me.
know if you've gotten over her or not?
It's disgusting. I still have these like fond memories of the love, even though I know she's a bad person.
The love was in quotes, right?
Still lives. No, it was fucking up. The most I've ever loved anyone in my life.
Oh, you mean you loving her is what you're saying?
Well, she loved
you were like
me.
gaslighted so hard, and you were like pulled into this narcissist web so hard that you think it was actually love. Got it. Okay.
It felt like it at the time, which was good enough. It felt good. It felt great. It felt like magical. And
it was a choice.
I didn't know
that way.
She was a succubus.
Right. I didn't know it.
Like,
okay, then.
like what? Like literal, like she is some sort of interdimensional evil spirit that has entered our realm.
I think so.
In order to make your life,
I think
tragic.
So. I think that's true.
And you still
Wow.
choose to love that entity.
I don't love her, but I have weird, nostalgic, almost memories of how great it was falling in love and how
You have
exciting it
With
was.
you
an
have
interdimensional
desires.
entity that was trying to
It's
take your soul.
That's what I'm saying. It fucked me up.
I mean, if you were going to play the full victim role on this, then you have to realize that love was always imaginary, and it
But
was
it wasn't.
forced upon
It
you
wasn't.
to believe it is true.
It wasn't.
No,
That's
because it was an
a damaged
interdimensional
succubus.
evil entity that did it. So obviously, it was out of your control.
No, but they were a damaged succubus, and so they had some issues.
It wasn't a fully fledged succubus. It's like
No,
a baby succubus,
It was.
a succubini.
Yeah, I was going to say, is there a lifespan? Are you like a succubus pedophile? Like, is there a lifespan of the succubus? Like,
No.
there's a point where they don't know what they're doing, and then you're the responsible party, and then they get older, and then
I'm
they're
definitely
the
responsible by being a fuck up, by being weird and being like, oh, I'll put up with this shit because the love feels so good. But it's not a good thing in the end.
the love.
Was it the
feels
love
so
that
good.
felt so
Well,
good, Greg?
That was amazing. Yeah.
Just
Yeah, the love
outside of the
always
sex
feels-
part of it, what did you actually get from it? Outside of the sex part,
When this succubus wasn't being incredibly cruel, they were incredibly generous and sweet and loving, and
and what? How did this generosity show itself?
just
How was
by
it exhibited?
doing incredible
Did she
generous
come?
things.
Did she come
buying
over and
me-
make you breakfast?
I just mentioned something, and Amazon delivered it the next day. Like just like giving me gifts and like taking me out all the time.
That's called.
And-
That's what narcissists do, Greg.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. Okay.
But no, that's what succubuses do, man.
All right. Well, combine the two then into narcissist.
Narcobus.
Narcissist.
Wait, narcissist,
A
a
succubus.
succurist, a succurist,
Okay, let's go to
Succubus.
or
Ask Greg. We've done a
narcubee.
little too much personal shit here. Ask Greg.
No, not enough personal shit now.
Okay,
'Cause you brought it up.
Fine.
You brought it
I
in,
wanted
so
to
we're
tell the viewers why
delving
I
now.
look like this. I wanted an excuse. for how
That's
I've
not
let myself
that's not
go.
a viable excuse,
I've let
Greg, because
myself
that was
go
years
so
ago.
much. I know.
I would
but
like,
I've been
I would like
damaged.
all of our listeners and watchers to know that the reason I look like this is because I was abducted by an alien spacecraft 6 months, 2 months. I don't know. I've lost track of time.
They
That's why I look
dilated
like
your
this.
pupils, and you have to
I
wear
didn't think
sunglasses
Brennan is
now?
like that because he was kicked out of your house by that same succubus.
Yes. See how bad succubuses are. Succubi.
I will punch that lady right in the cunt. I'm just going to say that right now.
Kick her in the cunt.
I would.
Apparently, I had the reverse effect because she took herself out of my life
Yes.
after I told her to
Bless.
fuck
Well,
off.
I mean,
So
she's never been a part of my life, apparently. So I mean, I don't have anything to worry about this succubus.
to a certain extent for you, it was peripheral for you.
Mm,
Anyway, well,
collateral-
okay, well, what's that, Greg?
Collateral damage.
I suppose. I mean, because I know that she stopped communicating with me when I told her to fuck off. So, and that's the first time in my life where I've told someone to do that and they actually fucked off. It was
No,
like
she's
shocking.
good at fucking off.
Yeah.
there's something fair. There's something fair and honest in that, if nothing else. You know what I mean?
I know. I was like, wow, it actually happened. And first I was like I was kind of weird about it. I'm like, because then she like stopped communicating completely. And I'm like, well, that's interesting because I had apologized for what I had said to her. And then she was gone. I'm like, all right, why should I be upset about this? I'm like, no. Take this as a win. The first time you
Right.
see this to somebody and they actually did it, I'm like, you got to give them credit. I know.
Yeah. No,
So-
that's fair. I would say that's self-aware, if nothing
Yeah.
else. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I've pissed this person off so much that this is what they've told me. I will respect that opinion. So
And Brendan,
She-
actually thinking back on it, the conversation she and I were having was about you. I'm just thinking back on like, why did I tell her that? I'm like, going, I was
Well,
trying to get her
how-
to make an apology, and she's like refusing to apologize for whatever it
What have
was.
to do
So
with
I was like, all right,
Brendan?
you can just fuck off then.
What did Brendan have to do with it?
Oh, I don't remember the details, but it had something to do with him being at your place,
How? Oh, he
and
went vax.
it
Right.
That
maybe
was the whole
that. I
thing.
don't recall
She
exactly
didn't
what it
want
was.
me
I
like
was trying to
her
get her to
friend.
look at another perspective, and she was like unwilling, and then she was just getting belligerent,
Yeah,
and which was making, my trigger is when people get angry with me. So I get angry when people are getting angry with me. And
yeah.
so that's when
Right.
eventually I was like, you need to apologize for this, and you need to apologize. And she's like, I'm not gonna apologize. I'm like, well, you can fuck off then. And then, that was kind of the end of it all.
You
So
know,
yeah.
there is a pilot season opener somewhere buried in my hard drive about, everybody hates Brendan. So, she can just be a part of that show, apparently.
She
But
didn't hate you.
that's
She
that's
just was
somebody
like
else's show.
so like she had health issues, so she was like so worried about COVID, and you weren't that. And
Right.
I guess I don't know if this is true, but supposedly people who weren't vaxxed had more of a chance of getting COVID. And
Mm.
she just was like, and I even said, "What if I just barely go to my house? I'll stay at your house." But she still didn't want to. She
Yeah. Yeah. Well, cool.
All I know is that I can't wait for when I finally run the AI through this episode to see what it pops up for this part of the conversation. That should be quite fascinating. Anyway, all
It'll just
right. So why don't we go? I mean, I'm not going to play the thing for Ask Greg because I'll just toss it in later. So
He has an opinion, may not always be right. He's a real fake lawyer. He's old and he's white. Ask him a question, 'cause he's a good egg for bogus advice. Ask Greg. Ask Greg. Ask Greg.
So Brendan, if you found something from the Ask Greg litter box,
the litter box.
Let me
The
check.
letter
We have a big
box.
board
Sorry,
here
not the
at
litter
the
box.
offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker. Let me check here.
Oh, the glasses
All
are coming on. This is serious.
So today's question comes from an avid watcher and listener to the show, and relative to our topic, which was David Lynch and movies. The question is this: obviously, certain intellectual properties become available after a certain amount of time. They're just become, public domain. And it's like Steamboat Willie, for instance, or other things. So the question is, in this instance, how long, because the time difference is, it varies. How long is too long before something becomes public domain? And should all Nicolas Cage movies be immediately made public domain? That's the question.
It would be against the law, the copyright law as it stands now, since they're only like, most of them are like 20, 30 years old at most. But it would be a good idea for the intellectual properties to enter the intellectual discussion. That's why they invented copyright laws. You want to be able to do variations on these old books or forever or whatever. So
The old Nicolas Cage books.
It wasn't for that. They didn't predict Nicolas Cage would make books and movies and comic books. But I do got to say, though, it's a great thing, no matter when it comes into public domain, because as we saw 2 years ago, when Winnie the Pooh came into public domain, we were treated with a wonderful slasher horror movie about Winnie the Pooh. They couldn't do that 4 years ago. Already there's plans for a Steamboat Willie horror movie that'll be wonderful, I'm sure.
I think they're missing out on the usage of Steamboat Willie. That should be the name of a porn movie.
They'll probably do that too. Yes,
because isn't that what you call your penis, Greg?
I do. Steamboat Tiny, but so I think like I'm looking forward to the day when like A Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway could be made into a horrible slasher horror movie, and F. Scott Fitzgerald's works can be adapted into a shitty horror movie. This is a great thing in our culture where, thanks to public domain and the copyright laws, we can turn all of art, all of centuries of art, into shitty horror movies, like the Winnie the Pooh movie. So I think,
And the Statue of David.
that's a great idea for a horror movie. That would be like Jason or Freddy Krueger. That would be so scary. With his little penis.
That's right. Jason the Argonauts uses Jason from Friday the 13th.
You could do that. Yeah, it's all thanks to copyright law. We can do this now. And so I think it's a good thing that things go into public domain. In the case of Nicolas Cage is still alive. So he could remake these movies with his new refound acting chops. I can imagine Face Off being done straight, being, him doing it as a good actor. I don't know if it would work, but it would be interesting.
Well, what do you think about the Hollywood idea, the trial balloon that's been floated of a remake of Face Off, except instead of Travolta, it's Tom Hanks?
I don't know until I see
I don't
it.
see that one working.
Yes. No,
Tom
it could.
Hanks.
Tom Hanks has got range.
Yeah, but
He was
not
in
that
Bosom
particular.
Buddies.
I don't think Tom Hanks is bad enough to do that movie.
But that's
Well, it was
interesting.
either Tom Hanks or Tom Cruise. And they just thought
Just
he
every
was
actor
not-
named Tom. So like
Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones might be better to throw in there.
Well, Tommy Lee Jones is pretty old, so that didn't make any sense,
Well, actually, it might
Hanks
make the
and
best
Cruise-
sense. Actually,
Hanks and Cruise are similarly aged relative to
what other actors named Tom? There's what's his name who plays Spider-Man?
Child.
Tom Holland.
Yes.
Tom
Tom
Holland.
Holland?
Yes, he could do it. He could switch
No,
off
he's too young.
Nicolas Cage.
He's too young.
It'd
You
be
need
perfect.
somebody, in their 40s, 50s,
They
50s.
could put makeup on him. They could age him.
Yeah, but
Like-
Tom Cruise is in his 60s, so he doesn't count.
But
I don't think he's in his 60s.
And Tom Hanks is like in his 70s, isn't he?
Is
They
he?
still look pretty young, those guys.
Let's see.
But
Tom
here's
Hanks.
the thing about them.
He's
Age
Hollywood.
regardless, they're draws.
Hanks is
Tom
68
Hanks is 68. Okay.
and Cruise is 62. Yes, welcome to
Damn
our
it,
own
Tom-
old age.
Well, time out. Can we just all take a moment and accept that Tom Cruise is 62 years old right now?
That's fucking weird.
Brendan, I hate to tell you this, but next year, in a month, I'll be 60 years old.
No, you won't. No, you won't.
My
What?
wife
No,
is
you
yelling,
won't.
saying things to me.
You are only
She's-
58.
Right, next
You're-
month I'll be 59, and a year from then I'll be 60.
That didn't make sense.
I didn't hear
You're
that
not
at all.
supposed to be
Matt.
paying. You're not supposed to be eavesdropping. Watch your show.
I was on the show, and it sounded like you said you're going to be 60.
I said next year in a month.
Okay, I guess I didn't
Yeah.
hear that.
It
that was.
may have been
I
muffled.
missed it too.
And
Because I
people-
was
anyway.
like, next
And-
year you're going to be 60. I didn't realize. Okay.
and
Anyway,
yet Tom Cruise looks young enough to be your son, strangely enough.
and short enough to be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the last picture I saw of Tom, obviously he's way better looking than I am, but he's definitely starting to show his age. I mean, they're
Yeah,
all
plus
are. And
he's had a
that's-
bit of work done on his face too. He's got some weird things going on in his face. But
What that whole jaw thing? What the hell is that? Do you know?
he's looking a lot like his brother. I don't know if you've seen his brother, who's
No.
also an actor.
Brother.
But his brother's got that kind of high cheekbone thing going on. His brother's name is something Maypother. What is it? Where is this stupid name?
Not Tom Cruise's.
Oh no, it's his cousin. All right, it's William Maypother. You've seen him in
Oh,
a bunch of
yes.
things too. Like he's
Does he
been
look
in
like Tom
like
Cruise?
lots of movies. Not really. Don't really see the resemblance, but there is some of it there. But yeah, he was in like the TV show Lost for a while, and a bunch
Okay.
of other things. Yeah. So he'd
Gotcha.
be somebody. He's like one of those guys. Like you'd recognize him because you saw him in lots of things, but you wouldn't know what his name was.
Right.
But
Do you think
anyway,
Okay.
so
do you think with all of his Hollywood clout, Tom Cruise and his millions, do you think he could have been like, "Hey, David Lynch, I want you to cast me in your next movie"? Do you think David Lynch would have just been like, "No, you're
I don't
not"?
know. He
No,
could have done something with Cruise. I mean, he did something with Kyle MacLachlan.
I know,
no,
but that's
no,
a different
no.
Yeah.
thing.
Hold on. Greg, Cruz did one better. I'm just going to give you this. He did Eyes Wide Shut with Stanley Kubrick.
Oh,
And if you want to
Kubrick,
go
right?
down a fucking rabbit hole of bullshit, check that out. So, yeah, I think he did better than David Lynch, to be honest.
I would say that the best thing Tom Cruise ever did was Magnolia because he kind
Magnolia's
of
pretty awesome. Yeah.
It's a good movie.
I don't know. I thought
My
Cruz.
favorite.
I finally thought Cruz was a decent actor in Born on the Fourth of July. You know, the Oliver Stone flick.
yeah. That was almost like going retard though, going full retard. It was
He
like one
went
of
full
those
handicap. He went full
important
wheelchair.
movies. Yeah, you know, it was
But
like this is an important movie, and you're gonna do melodrama, and you know, like I have no
yeah,
legs.
Oh, but my favorite role, I think, will always be his role in Tropic Thunder.
That's amazing.
that is an unbelievable bit. I think my favorite Tom Cruise movie is Jerry Maguire. And then the other one is Taps, which most people don't remember Taps. And he
Oh,
I
was
remember
wow, he was
Taps.
in
I
it.
like Taps.
I remember Taps, but I forgot he was in it because he's
yeah,
not
he
a
was the
major role, right?
psychopath. Yeah, he was the crazy Marine kid.
I barely remember it. I saw it when it came out.
I think that might have been Tom's first role.
Yeah,
It was
probably.
either that or The Outsiders. I can't remember which was first.
He was in The Outsiders too.
You don't remember him in The Outsiders?
No,
He played a little
remember,
bit
I
of a
know it had a
psycho
lot
in
of.
Outsiders also.
I know it had a lot of famous actors who went on to other things, but I didn't. I forgot that he was in that. I saw
Yeah,
that
I
when it
mean
came out.
he did better than what the hell is that guy's name? Well, Ralph Macchio was in it, and
Oh, you're off, buddy.
Timothy Hutton, wasn't he in The Outsiders too?
Matt Dillon.
don't remember. You know, that's a guy who's underrated. Matt Dillon is an
Oh,
underrated
I
actor, I
think
gotta
he's
say.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a guy who should have had a
Matt
much
Dillon.
bigger career, I think. And Matt Dillon's favorite role for me is from There's Something About Mary.
Oh, Matt Dillon was
That's a fun
fantastic.
role.
Everyone in that movie was fantastic. That's just a treasure that we all need
Did
to
you guys
love.
ever
That.
see Wild Things?
Isn't that the one with
Dillon?
like Denise Richards and
Yes. It is one
Yeah,
of
and
the
Okay.
then they get
funnest,
busy in the
trashiest
hot
movies you've
tub.
ever seen. It's up there with Showgirls as far as
yeah,
trash.
yeah. Well, I think it was a hot tub or a swimming pool or a heated swimming pool or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
That's all I remember from the
It's
movie.
hot
That's
trash. It's so
It's a
good.
terrible statement on me or a terrible statement about the movie.
Yeah.
C. Thomas
Or
Howell,
both.
that's who I was trying to think of. So
Oh,
Cruz
yeah.
did
That guy.
definitely better than C. Thomas Howell from The Outsiders. So I'll throw all the names out. So Ralph Macchio, Matt Dillon, Patrick Swayze, Rob Lowe, Emilio Estevez, Leif Garrett was in that,
That's
and
amazing.
Diane Lane.
Leif Garrett.
That was
Remember Leif
after his-
Garrett?
I remember
everyone
Yes,
else
Leif
had
Garrett.
the
after Leif
beginning of
Garrett's
their
Bride.
career, but
I think
Leif
that was
Garrett
like
at the end of his
when
career.
Leif Garrett's was like definitely descending, and he
I was gonna
got
say,
lucky enough to get a role in
Leif
that
Garrett
movie.
was the janitor at the high school at that point, wasn't he?
He was
Totally.
already descended at that point. He is like 79 was his peak, basically.
Hey, what is he doing
Oh,
these
you
days?
kids, I don't know what you're doing right now, but just leave me alone.
Well, I mean, he's actually about the same age as Tom Cruise, so he's 63.
One of the weird things about David Lynch is like there's no major stars in his movies. I know you think of Dennis Hopper's a major star, but he made him that. Dennis Hopper was a fucking drunk for like 7 years in Hollywood, a joke. And then I can't even picture
what?
he made
What the hell are you
Dennis
talking
Hopper.
about? Dennis Hopper was a useless
Well, it was a
actor until-
revitalization of Hopper's career,
Yes.
definitely. From
Dennis
Blue
Hopper
Velvet.
was like playing like not made for TV movies because he couldn't even get those. Just like really, he was like his career was in the toilet. He was doing just drinking and doing coke every day. He was a fucking wreck. And David Lynch revitalized his career in Blue Velvet. But also, I can't picture any major star in any of his movies. It's always weird, like Laura Dern, like who's Laura Dern is whatever. I know she was in Jurassic Park years later.
Well, Anthony Hopkins and John Hurt were in Elephant Man.
That's true.
Yeah.
That was his major Hollywood movie.
And I think John Hurt was
that's a little different.
He was getting bigger because of Alien, I think, at that time.
Yeah, but that was a little different. That was his one really studio movie, like where it's just like, I'm doing a normal.
Well, you
movie.
said there weren't any, so I just thought I'd bring one.
No, I meant I guess the major.
You meant any with besides that?
Yes, thank you. And
okay.
I can't even picture any major Hollywood star acting in these movies. Like, sure, Tom Cruise might have pulled it out of his ass and did a great performance, but I just can't picture any.
Yeah, I think that he kickstarted Isabella Rossellini's career with Blue Velvet.
He was just this oddball that guys and weirdos. What's Dean Stockwell? Blue Velvet kind of brought back Dean Stockwell before Quantum Leap, and all these guys who were just like kind of peripherally in Hollywood.
Well, Dean Stockwell was always kind of a character actor, anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, he was pretty big in the late 60s, early 70s. He had a little kind of heyday, doing some Roger Corman stuff that were kind of big. But
Roger Corman wasn't like anybody's heyday.
No. Well, I mean, there was some.
Come on. Roger Corman, really?
I know, but they sold tickets, whatever.
They sold. Yes, they did.
They got people.
They did at the drive-in. That's
people
true.
Saw them, and like Dean Stockwell could star in a movie, even though it was Roger Corman, and then his career was just like nothing. Maybe he'd be on a TV show. He'd be on Columbo or something.
Oh, here's the part. Remember how you hate the comic strip, The Angriest Dog in the World? Greg?
Yes, so dumb.
That was written and drawn by David Lynch.
Duh. Yeah, that's the only reason anyone ever got published.
I didn't know that, and I loved that comic strip.
What?
Even though you thought it was dumb. I did. I loved it.
So
I loved that
let's
one.
Describe to the viewers Angriest Dog in the World. Angriest Dog in the World was a comic strip where David Lynch drew one drawing of this it's kind of a good drawing.
There's usually 4 panels of the same drawing.
Of an angry dog chained at the leash, just like
it's like at the end of its leash.
And then David Lynch would just write like some surreal haiku or parable or whatever.
Right.
Just some random thing.
Obviously, Greg, you just didn't get it.
I did not get it. I don't think anyone got it. The only reason
I got it, Greg.
You got it.
And if I got it, other people got it.
This is when you were high.
It might have been. That was during my high period, so that's very possible.
I like a lot of
I don't remember any
books
part
that
of
are weird and odd, and that was just.
Brendan, you really got to look up The Angriest Dog in the World. You will either enjoy it or you'll be like Greg.
You won't enjoy it. No, you won't enjoy it, but it is kind of fascinating.
Greg, you can't say that for everybody.
I can.
No, because I don't believe that.
You're the only person in the history of the world who likes that comic.
That's not true. There's a reason it was running.
Just now.
It was a reason it was running in papers because other people liked it too. It wasn't just because
David Lynch's name. That's why it was published.
No.
They were like, Greg, wow, David Lynch wants to make a comic strip for our paper.
Before he was famous, this came out in 1973. Right, that's when he first conceived of it
in 1973,
and it didn't start getting published until 1983.
Yeah, when he was
10 years later,
huge and cool as fuck.
Okay, so I'm gonna read you how each comic strip was begun, Brennan, which says, "The dog who is so angry he cannot move, he cannot eat, he cannot sleep, he can just barely growl. Bound so tightly with tension and anger, he approaches the state of rigor mortis," and that is the extent. And then that's basically what it looked like every single episode.
With some bizarre.
Yeah, no, I'm looking at it now, and then I'm
every single strip.
So Greg, the reason here's the difference. So you're always, in terms of like music, you prefer more punky things.
Yeah.
And you're not interested in the lyrics of things, right?
Yeah.
Right. So this is the same kind of thing. This is a progressive comic strip, Greg.
Lyrics. It had shitty there was never something clever or, whoa, that's a cool thing to say. It was just some random
There was always something that I'm just going to disagree with you, and you're going to keep talking in generalities, and I'm going to be more specific about how it meant something to me. So you talk about how everybody hated it, and I'll tell you that's not true, and you'll continue to disagree with me.
Well, you proved me wrong.
I'm gonna
You're
say
the
this.
one person who liked the strip. I get
Okay,
it.
I'm gonna say this. Hold on, Greg. I'm gonna say this. I've never experienced this comic before. And so I'm looking at it for the first time, fresh eyes. I don't have any dog in this hunt, pun intended. I think it's funny. Now, I haven't read a lot of these, but
This is a reminder.
Can you
You're
tell
gonna make
me
Greg lose his mind.
the one you looked at?
but
Tell me what it says.
But hear me. Shut up. Hear me out. I appreciate the avant-garde aspect to it, where it just keeps repeating that this fucking dog is so like fucked off about life that he's like. Ugh. And then I started to get into the other ones where it does have that same intro every time, and it's the same 3 panels. And
Right.
then apparently Lynch just adds other weird shit. But this is very David Lynch, Greg. So I can't see how you're pissed
Can
off
you
about it.
tell me the strip you looked up right now? What does it say? What's the dialogue?
Well, there's a bunch of them. I've got like several of them here.
Give me one.
Okay, let me pick this one here.
I haven't read it in 30 years, to be honest. So
Give me.
maybe now I'll love it.
I'm not saying you love it. I'm not even saying I love it. I'm just saying I don't hate it. It says the dog who is angry cannot, but I can barely read this.
Just tell me the one different thing.
It says, Bill, I met a girl named Claire who seemed to know an awful lot about. No, I can't. Let me pick a different one. This one's just. No, it's
they'll all be
no.
just as
Hold
dumb,
on,
trust
that
me.
one's it's just blurred out. I can't read it. Here, let me see. This one I can read. Same intro. Now this voice bubble is coming from the house, and it says curiously.
They always come from the house. Yes.
Yeah, it says curiously, due to the fact that we have recently discovered that Pete is a bona fide idiot, and meanwhile, Dog is just like, ah. It says
so the dog
we
is
can
always like that.
appreciate why his arguments are not convincing, and then that's it.
Rubbish.
This is
That's
why
what I gotta
Greg can't get it. He can't get
I
it. It's
can't
out of
get
his
it.
psyche.
I don't get it. I don't like it. Nope, sir. I don't like it.
Right, but you can't speak for everybody, Greg.
I can,
But
but I
here-
can speak for everyone
But
else
here's the
I've
thing.
ever talked to. Who thinks
Here's
it's
the bigger
shit.
thing, going back to the point of this the point of the show, which is, yeah, I can't say I enjoy this. I can't say I'm like, oh man, I can't wait to see what this fucker comes up with next week.
But you appreciate the weirdness of it.
Okay, hold on. It's not the Far Side for sure. But this is 100% David Lynch bullshit.
Yeah.
So I can't see how you love all of those other shit and then think this is dumb, because it's kind of the same thing. Just like Matt, if you love this, how could you not think Twin Peaks was cool? Because it's kind
Like
of
I
the
said,
same
it just
vibe.
I didn't see enough of it to like grab me. And I just never got I never had anything bad to say about it. I just didn't have anything to say about
I challenge you to watch like the first episode again with a fresh set of eyes. 'Cause it's actually a pretty
I'll
good
probably
show.
will like one of these days, try and get through it, power my way through it. It's kind of like Battlestar Galactica, like the new thing. I've been trying to get through that for years too. It's like I heard great things about
Well,
it.
I don't know
never made
about
through that.
Battlestar Galactica, but
No, I'm talking about the recent reiteration of it. The one
the
that came
most
out in like the
recent.
last
I
10
mean,
years.
is there a recent one other than the one that was like, I think like 10 years ago or something?
Yeah, it was like 10, 15 years ago it came out.
No,
That's the
okay,
one I'm
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
yeah.
Yeah.
Where the Cylons are now hot women.
Right, that one.
Yeah. Now I can't get past. I'm an old school Battlestar Galactica. The Cylons were the robots, and they had those bug people, and it took a while to get to like figuring out who the bug people were. It's a fucking good show. When I saw
All I know is right now we're seeing Greg's hand on his wall. I don't know what's going on there.
no, it's better than
I had to
seeing his
mute
hand on
myself.
something else.
I was being a good podcaster by
Were
not
you?
sharing my urination with you.
Thank
Well,
God.
thanks for that.
We don't have to watch the Elephant Man again.
Okay, can I say this, guys? This is what I think. Angriest dog in the world. I think
I
it's
actually
shit.
have to. Well, I have to go take a restroom break myself now. It's my turn, so I'm
Okay.
going to take off my video for now.
Okay,
There we go.
I'll
I'll
say
be
this,
listening.
that no matter how weird David Lynch gets in all of his movies, Mulholland Drive, there's so much weird shit in there that doesn't even make sense. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, but it's always entertaining. It's always just like, I don't know what's going on, but this is fascinating, and these characters are amazing, or whatever it is in the scene that's amazing. There's always a point of interest. Angriest Dog in the World is just like avant-garde to me.
Yeah, no, I totally get what you're saying.
But David Lynch is so avant-garde, his movies, and yet he also always makes it entertaining and like engaging. It's like, like Mulholland Drive, I still don't quite understand that movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. There's scenes in that movie that hit me so hard emotionally where I'm just like, I don't know what David Lynch is doing. But like, for example, the scene where the two women are watching that woman sing Llorando, which is crying by Roy Orbison in Spanish. Llorando, oh, por tu. And it is the most romantic, beautiful love scene I've ever seen, where they're just looking at each other and they realize that they're in love. They're not just pals. And it is like wrenching. I don't really understand what's going on. It's like, why are they in this theater and they're almost crying with their emotion?
Right, but I think at the heart of this is, and I would agree with this, is that David Lynch is a genius in one art form and not in another. And a lot of times I think creative people think they can extend themselves into, art forms that aren't their specialty. Like, the great guitar player decides he can sing, or the singer who plays guitar, or whatever.
Or Lauren Green thinking he could make an album.
Right. But what I can respect from those cartoons, which I would probably read two and never read another one again.
Yeah.
But I would only read two because they were from David Lynch. So you're right.
Yeah.
But it's 100% David Lynch. It's just he's not supposed to be doing strip cartoons. That's just not his thing.
To be honest, I think he'd make a great comic if he actually applied himself. If he took one of his screenplays, and I mean, that drawing of Angriest Dog is quite funny. I love that drawing. I would love to actually see him draw a comic strip, but he doesn't. That strip is just one drawing for, I think it lasted 2 years. You just got to see that one drawing over and over.
Well, I mean, given that the copyright was 1990,
it lasted for 9 years, Greg.
Right.
What?
Well, and also it was 1990. Years. So he was a name. David Lynch was a name. So he didn't really have to try that hard.
No.
Now it's my
Yeah,
turn
but
to
again, I'll have to say this because I didn't know David Lynch had anything to do with it. So I just liked it in and of itself.
Wow.
I didn't know he had anything to do with it till tonight when I looked it up.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, the fact is that there's something different about it that has caused us 30 years later to talk about it. So obviously,
I love the fact that it exists, like such a weird thing.
I mean, you and I had a similar conversation before Lynch even died, so we can't even say it's got something to do with his death.
Yeah,
we had conversations about this comic, so it does something. It sparks the imagination in a certain way. It obviously caused yours to cause a dumpster fire in your own head.
Yes.
Because you dislike it so much. For what reason? I don't know why. It's just
I just think that because David Lynch is such a great storyteller and bizarro filmmaker that I wish he applied that to comics and tried to make something good.
But he did. I think you're just missing the nuance behind the text.
It's obviously very avant-garde. It's like, I'm going to do this thing where it's going to be the same panel every week and a weird little quote, which is like, I admire that in the same
And it
way
was
I admire-
popular enough that it stuck around for 9
yeah,
years.
because it was David Lynch's name, yes.
Well, no,
But
it couldn't just be that. It
it
can't
was.
just be that.
I think it was in
No,
two
Greg,
papers.
I don't think you can
It
like
was in like
paint that
two
brush.
newspapers, I think, or 4. It wasn't syndicated. It wasn't like Life in Hell.
It
by
was
Matt
syndicated, Greg. It was syndicated
Yeah,
across
like
the
4
country.
All
papers.
right, all right.
Four papers.
We're devolving into an argument that just isn't going anywhere. So I have a last word prepared, which ironically has everything to do with what you guys were just talking about, and it's very short. So
All right, I
can
think
do
this is
that.
perfect because I was going to suggest you do the last word whenever you wanted.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll do that, and then if we want to continue to have the conversation, I know it is 9:10, but I'm not grandma. I can hang out because I enjoy talking to you guys. But just to keep with the format, I can do the last word
Okay,
now.
go for it.
This is The Last Word with Brendan Haggerty.
My last word is this. Given that we've had multiple conversations about David Lynch, some of the great stuff that he did, some of the stuff that we could disagree on, like Angriest Dog, but there's something about David Lynch, and Matt mentioned this, which made me think of this, that sticks with us always, which is we'll always remember it. Even if you hated the angriest dog in the world, or you thought that his Dune was absolutely a horror show relative to the books, or you loved Twin Peaks and you're like a complete cultist about it. Whatever that is, it brings me back to Charles Bukowski, and I'm going to quote him, and he said this: "Great writers are indecent people. They live unfairly, saving the best part for paper. Good humans save the world, so that bastards like me can keep creating art to become immortal. If you read this after I am dead, it means I made it." Charles Bukowski. So I think that's kind of the David Lynch piece here, is that the fact that we'll probably be talking about David Lynch well past any of our lives, that young people will still be talking about him as a filmmaker, as an artist, as a creative. He made it, you know? That's the most important thing. I really honestly think David Lynch will be immortal.
Yeah.
And so shall we with this podcast. By the way, we did have somebody commenting in chat, and I hadn't been paying attention to it. So this is from someone named Kesia Olney. And
you met this girl, dude.
I know that.
She came to Firkins.
Are you
We sang
saying
B-52s.
This is one of the girlfriends.
Yes.
Oh.
All right. Well, there's
one
3
of
different
Brendan's
comments here. Yeah, 3 different comments. Matt has been abducted was the first one, so I don't know when that happened. And then Beverly Hills 90210 was the shit back then. I don't know what that's referring to. And then you mean Northern Nevada, Brendan. And so that, again, I don't know what that's referring to either, because I don't know when these comments were made, because I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, I was going to say they probably were relative to whatever dipshit conversation we were having.
I imagine the Beverly Hills things, because we were talking about Twin Peaks, what a phenomenon it was. And like, yeah, that was the normal TV at the time that was popular. Beverly Hills.
Oh, right.
And then Twin Peaks comes out, and it's like, mind blowing.
I at least tried to watch Twin Peaks. I never tried to watch Beverly Hills 90210.
I did.
I would recommend it.
It's terrible.
Yeah. It never was like on my radar or something that I had to get into.
Now,
but again, Twin Peaks, I had an interest because David Lynch was associated with it. And, again, I liked Blue Velvet. I liked Dune. I just couldn't get into Twin Peaks.
Yeah. The thing about Twin Peaks is the first couple episodes are just sort of slow. It's a very slow burn. And they start
kind
off
of expository, right?
Yeah, and it feels like this sort of like true crime thing, but even that was an unusual format for back then in terms of TV. But then it gets into this cosmic horror thing that you're not expecting at all.
Can I say one thing about David Lynch is that he could tap into nightmarish visions where he does things that are terrifying. I don't even understand why. In Mulholland Drive, there's a scene in the very beginning where a character's saying, I have these dreams about this guy. He's kind of like a crazy hobo, weird character. And he goes out to a dumpster. For some reason, he has to throw something away. I don't know why he goes outside. And the guy is just sitting there. And it just is kind of like a hobo. It's not like a alien, like a xenomorph. Not the most terrifying creature you've ever seen. And the way he films it is the most terrifying thing you've ever seen. Like Bob. Remember in Twin Peaks? Bob sitting behind the chair, looking at Laura Palmer's mother. That shouldn't be scary. If you read the script and said, "Oh, and this whatever long-haired creep is crouching behind a chair, staring at her," but it is one of the scariest moments in film history. It's horrifying. So somehow he can do this, where it's like, I don't even know why is this scary. It shouldn't be. So he has some things like that where he's tapping into almost our like unconsciousness. We're like, that doesn't even make sense, but he pulls it off. Right.
That's true.
Like the love scene, the scene I was talking about, Mulholland Drive. It's like, this is to me the most romantic love scene I've ever seen. I don't even think they kiss. They're just looking at each other, crying, while this woman sings Roy Orbison in Spanish. And it just
Mulholland Drive. That's one with Naomi Watts, right?
Yep.
You know what I remember of that movie? Because I don't remember a whole lot about that movie. I remember she had very long nipples. That's what I remember from that movie.
I don't even remember that. And I love that movie.
Like when you say
like about how you have your fingers there, Brendan. Yeah.
Like
about an inch?
Tic Tac nipples?
Maybe not an inch, but close.
Wow. That's interesting.
That's what I remember. I don't remember the story other than something happened on Mulholland Drive. I only saw it once because I was like, yeah, this is interesting, but I didn't like go back and revisit it.
But this is really.
I'm thinking I need to go back and watch all of David Lynch's stuff from the beginning, and so I can get a better idea. But now that we've done the episode, I don't have a reason to do it.
Yeah, I would say you've seen Mulholland Drive. I would definitely say give Twin Peaks another chance. I think you would actually kind of connect with it. You just got to give it a minute because it is a slow burn.
It's just I've got so many things on my list to watch. Like I just got through getting done with the Interview with the Vampire show, which actually I got to recommend to you guys. If you haven't seen it, really, really, really good.
I don't think it's as good as any David Lynch movie.
It's very different, but it's a whole different. It's completely different than the Interview with the Vampire movie. So
I was going to say, so it's like the Interview with the Vampire. It's like Anne Rice's thing, but it's a TV show.
It's like
a TV show. Eric Bogosian is the interviewer.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember him from the movie like Talk Radio and like, which goes back to the 80s. And other things along the way. But anyway, he's a really good acerbic actor.
What is this on, Matt?
It's on AMC Plus.
Ah, fuck. I can't watch it.
Okay, so anyway, so he's interviewing...
He's interviewing a vampire.
Who's Lestat?
But it's...
Lestat, both are unnamed actors who are playing the vampire Lestat and the other one, and but they both do excellent jobs, and he really makes it like a period piece with vampires. So.
Yeah, but I'm saying it is based on that reality. It is Lestat.
Yeah, I never read the book, so I have no idea how faithful it is to the story. But either way,
shit about that. But it's that universe.
Yeah.
It's not like he's just interviewing a vampire and it's a whole different set of circumstances.
Right. It's based upon the Anne Rice stories. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I read all her books. They're really good. And I thought Interview with a Vampire with Cruise and Pitt was a fantastic, it was not the same as the book, but it was the best movie they could have made based on the book.
I enjoyed that movie.
But
the TV show is like 1,000 times better.
Really?
Yeah, it's like really,
Okay.
really good. Yeah, it digs deep into the whole backstory, and yeah,
Little girl
it's
was
pretty good.
creepy in that movie. I
It's
think
kind of
she,
creepy in
Oh,
this one too, in the show.
Kristen
But
Dunst was
yeah,
unbelievable. She
little
must have been
Crimson
what, like
Dust.
12?
Yeah.
yeah, no, that gave her career.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's almost like the other one I always think of when I think of Kristen Dunst in Interview with the Vampire is what's her name who went on to be in Star Wars in The
oh, Natalie
Professional,
Portman.
Leon the Professional.
Right, right. Natalie Portman.
Natalie Portman. She is just that movie is just yeah, she's really it's a great movie. There's so many good performances and she's just a child and she's not a child and you're like God,
It's kind of like
wow.
Jodie Foster and Taxi Driver,
Yeah, it's the
and then
same
you go,
thing.
whatever happened to you, Tatum O'Neal? Why did you fall to the sides? Come on, Tatum.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Linda
Yeah.
Blair.
Linda Blair. No, my God. Yeah, her career
Well,
went.
that's a whole
She
different story.
she was pulling a Nicolas Cage 30 years earlier.
That's
Yeah.
right.
All right, so we should make a date so for those of you watching, we'll be doing this quarterly. We're not doing this on a weekly basis
Or
anymore
bi-monthly.
because we'll be doing it quarterly because Greg can't handle weekly, and
I can handle bi-monthly, though.
I'm not going to commit to more than quarterly because I'm
Okay.
unwilling now to do it more than
Let's do
that.
twice a year. Harvest moons.
No, every blue moon, Greg. We'll just do blue moons.
Every Haley's Comet. We'll do it.
I don't know why Brendan is suddenly wearing a condom on his head.
Zion Condom Boy. This next podcast sponsor will be Condom Boy.
You're the fucking Unabomber. That's what you look like right now.
I am also the Unabomber. Here, let me give you some more forehead. Then I'm not as scary looking as
He's going to give you some more forehead, Greg.
That's what I'm always looking for. That's a lot.
All I know is that suddenly Brendan looked like a cancer patient. Like all the way back. It's Paul Schaefer.
Oh my God.
Hey, you're a crazy guy. And
Dave, let me tell you.
Dave, I'm just saying.
Okay, well, do we have anything else we want to end with?
I mean, I don't like young girls, but if they come around.
Is that a Paul Schaefer thing?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know
Google
that.
it.
God,
Google it.
I love that guy.
I do too, and I don't, whatever. I don't think he ever did anything super uncool, but Google it.
Yeah, well, musicians from the 70s, they all have like some baggage, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, I can't think. I mean, I love David Bowie. Yeah,
he was fucking.
Come on, David Bowie.
I would like to say that, like, David Lynch's passing is.
Would you like to say it, or are you just going to say it?
I would like to, if you'd let me, but I don't know if I can because you're stalling me. But
I'm censoring you.
I just want to say that I rarely care about celebrity deaths, and they're very odd. Like Phil Hartman hit me way more than Robin Williams. Like, because Robin Williams didn't do much for me, but David Lynch was beyond that. Not only did I expect more good stuff from him, selfishly.
Why are you comparing Robin Williams and Phil Hartman to David Lynch?
Well, because they died not roughly around the same time, but there were still like two comedians who died, two people. Everyone was all crying about Robin Williams. And I was like, Phil Hartman is way more valuable, I guess, as far as I'm concerned. But David Lynch is beyond even that. Not only did I expect more great things to come from him, selfishly, I was sad because, like, oh, he won't give me more good stuff. But he just seemed like a genuinely unique, like, almost like Buddha-like character. He was like such a...
But why were you comparing David Lynch to the two comedians?
Because most celebrity deaths don't hit me that hard. I don't care. I didn't even really get sad when Kurt Cobain
I mean,
died.
you should be comparing David Lynch to like Stanley Kubrick.
I didn't care when he died. It was like,
There you go.
I didn't give a shit.
I mean, that makes more sense to me in terms of,
I'm just
if you're
saying
categorizing.
Yeah,
I mean,
could have
it's
mentioned
it's
that.
categorization.
But
it's
I happened to mention those two celebrity deaths. There's many celebrity deaths that I lifetime. Rarely give a shit. I know people were crying when Robin Williams died, and I was just like, "Are you serious? Like, you don't even know him."
Were you crying when David Lynch died?
No, but I was actually. I don't cry anymore. I burned out my tear ducts from crying so much as a youngster. They don't work. But
burned them out.
Yeah, they're fried. But I was very moved and sad. I was just like, "This is."
I mean,
sucks.
Yet I was completely indifferent to his death.
Yeah,
so
I don't think I'm indifferent to anyone's death necessarily, but I mean, if I was to pick somebody who had a bigger impact on my life, I'm not going to suggest that David Lynch had a bigger impact on my life than Robin Williams. I mean, Robin Williams was somebody I grew up with. It was somebody who was a part of my kid's life with the Genie. I mean, he made so many great movies.
Yeah.
David Lynch made some shit, and God knows he was a creative genius in his own right, but he didn't have the same impact. So I feel like I was more fucked off by Robin Williams dying than
for me. It was David Bowie who had more of an impact on it when he died.
You know why David Bowie? I wasn't that sad because I was like, he hasn't written a good song in 20 years. I don't expect anything good from him again. I know I'm wrong. I did hear his last album, and there's a good song in it. There's a 70s worthy Bowie song on that last album.
You know, the old fellas always have an opportunity to come back with something good, though. You never know what they're going to bring out. I mean, like Elvis Costello, Elvis Costello's last 3 albums are actually the best he had done in decades.
Really?
Yeah,
but
they were actually pretty good.
I'm just saying Robin Williams making another great movie versus David Bowie putting out another good album. I'm going to put money on Robin Williams making a good movie and David Bowie reinventing himself.
I don't know. Robin Williams' last few movies were kind of crap, man.
I don't think Robin Williams ever made a great movie. Sorry. I was never... Just kind of this goofy comedian. I don't know. He was just like, okay, you're zany. You're a zany guy.
I thought he was pretty great in Dead Poet Society.
There was Dead Poet Society. There was the one where he played the goofy doctor. There was the one where he played the super fucking creepy photo developer guy.
I never saw that one.
Oh, was Insomnia or something? No, that was with Pacino.
No, Insomnia was another one he did was good with De Niro.
He played the serial killer or whatever.
I should watch those. I want to see those. Believe me.
No, Robin Williams wasn't just Mork from Mork and
I know.
Mindy.
Which I loved as a kid. I did like that.
Which also I loved as a kid. And he was also the genie from Aladdin.
But nothing he ever did be like David Lynch did. Where I'm going to think of this for when I'm an old man, when I'm on my deathbed.
I mean, I'm not going to compare, Patch Adams with fucking the Elephant Man.
Patch Adams wasn't his finest hour.
No, it wasn't.
But Patch Adams and Elephant Man were kind of the same movie.
Kind of similar.
Yeah, kind of.
Involving doctors, anyway.
Yeah, there was doctors involved. I'm just saying,
And
there was a lot of heavy-duty shitting on Robin Williams, which I felt was super unnecessary to make your point. That's all.
Oh, no. Greg is usually the one we can count on to do that.
I think it was because, when he died, I couldn't believe the, literally people crying in front of me. I was like, are you serious? Really?
Yeah, I was.
Why are they crying in front of you, though? That's the real.
I don't know. Tell me
no
about
one,
it.
No one cried. Let's be honest. No one cried in front of Greg.
No, they literally did. This is literally. But I can tell you their names: Angie and Ilsa, my ex and her best friend.
Oh, they're two women. Well, that explains.
They heard the news, and we're sitting on her back patio, Ilsa's patio, smoking cigarettes and drinking wine. And they, oh my God, Robin Williams! And they started crying, and I just felt like a shit heel because I was just like, really, like I felt like this.
Emotional. For one, I can't think of a single time I've actually shed a tear because a celebrity died.
That's true. But I can't think of any. Sometimes I actually get really bummed. Like Phil, what's weird? Phil Hartman really bummed me out.
He was taken brutally, and
No, it was
he
about
was
just
younger.
how much I loved his shit and how much I was sad that he wouldn't be able to keep giving it to me. It's selfish. You know why? This is why I wasn't that sad when Kurt Cobain died. I know it sounds weird. I didn't like the
No, it
last
doesn't
album.
sound weird. I didn't give a crap.
I love Nirvana, but I didn't like the last album, so I was like, well.
Well, I mean,
You're such a fair weather fan.
Yes, exactly. He's like, he's not going to give me anything else. I got nothing more to get from him. So who cares?
I don't know that I felt anything relative to his death, relative to his last artistic output, but I thought it was sad that a guy that was that rich and that famous in his 20s would blow his fucking brains out. So
I was sadder about Chris Cornell passing than
Well,
Kurt Cobain.
that's pretty sad too. I didn't cry about it, but I was
think he
sort of
died.
bummed out.
Did he kill himself? No.
Yeah.
He did?
Yeah, him and the lead singer for Linkin Park, we were like within a year of each other.
Yeah.
And I think the guy from Linkin Park did it because he was sad about Cornell. So I think that's where that came about.
Well, the lead singer of Blind Melon killed himself because of Kurt Cobain.
I thought he was an overdose.
No, I mean, it was part of it.
Shannon Hoon?
Something like that. I don't think he blew his brains out, but I think he had he was all fucked off about his death. I remember that at the time. And he died he overdosed or whatever not much longer after that.
I mean, that was the day the music died, when the Blind Melon guy died, I think.
The Blind Melon guy died from a cocaine overdose.
Yeah, that was the day the music died. It was a great loss. Sorry.
You wanted to hear him sing Three is a Magic Number one last time, though, didn't you, Greg?
I do love that song.
All I'm saying is Greg is being kind of a giant dick right now.
Oh, I know I am.
Oh, and there's no kind of about this.
Do you guys know that?
I'm just saying, dude, these people died. They had families. They had moms and dads.
But I can't feel bad about everyone dying in the world. I'd never feel happy. If I was,
Brendan, remember, he's never been married or had children.
Yeah, people die.
We have to put Greg in context.
People die every day, and if I spent emotional energy, I'd be miserable all the time. Like, oh, that guy died. And Bob, the guy who played Gilligan, died last week. Oh, I can't.
Well, I'm not asking you to be that guy. I'm just saying that if somebody who had an impact in your life creatively, or it doesn't even need to be an artist or an actor. It could be a historical figure, whatever.
He cried about the women watching a movie in Mulholland Drive, so obviously he has some weird emotional problem.
I didn't cry.
I was just gonna say, you're like, oh man, that guy's dead. That's too bad.
I feel like, sure, for a second I say that sucks. But I'm not going to cry about it like Robin Williams.
I'm not asking you. I don't think anyone is asking you to cry about it.
I know. So that I don't get. Being that bereaved about someone you never even met.
Good. I think that's strong emotional intelligence, and I want to give you an attaboy. That's healthy behavior.
I feel great now. I got an attaboy. I'm going to put that in the
So the next episode of the Law Offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker will probably be in April or May, something like that.
Your consultation with the law offices of Quibble, Squabble, and Bicker has ended. You may pay your retainer at www.qsblaw.org. Please exit to the right of the water cooler and grab a candy from the front desk. We hope to see you again soon, but you need to leave now. I said leave. Why don't they ever listen? Get out! Get out!